The shield is a lower damage weapon with exquisite defensive and mobility measures built in. You might enjoy the Aegis if you would like to have a weapon with a very strong, basic moveset, strong enough that even on the worst luck of the draw, you would still be a force to be reckoned with. The reason why I consider Shield one of the most consistent performers in my general outlook is because you can keep pressing the attack button to go into a defensive stance, which prevents you from taking damage from the frontal angle. You cannot move while in this stance at all, but releasing the button triggers the shield charge, damaging everything in your path while rendering you invulnerable for the duration. Needless to say, this is an excellent move regardless of whether you were planning to play defensively or not. This is also why I consider the shield to be the strongest weapon. You're functionally invulnerable as long as you can switch to this stance and turn to face the danger. There are very few attacks in the game that bypass shield's protection, and they're all able to do so because their direction is ambiguous. If it is coming from a direction, you will block it. Since the shield tackle is still technically your attack, it is affected by your boons that modify your primary attack. Your attack itself is a single swipe with the shield, dealing 25 damage each time. This attack is not very good at all. It has almost no range, takes too long to reset, and it doesn't really combo. You won't be using that all that much. If you opt to keep pressing the attack button, however, you switch into the defensive stance that I have mentioned before. This will block everything coming from the frontal angle. Releasing the button will propel you forward, hitting everything in your path and covering quite a bit of ground. This is most likely why you're playing the shield. The dash attack is a very fast, close-range sweep, which does go into the shield tackle if you hold that input. This also is one of the best dash attacks as far as speed and coverage is concerned. Being able to go into defensive stance grants this move excellent utility, pretty much rendering the normal attack button useless. Your special is, well, nothing special at all. It's a shield toss that deals damage, bounces a bit and returns to you. Do note while the shield is in flight, you will be unable to use it for attacks or blocking until it returns to you. In the basic form, the shield throw is only useful for taking down impossible to reach ranged foes or applying a special condition you don't apply otherwise for the damage boost. As you learn correct timings to go into the defensive stance, you will find the lack of damage and low mobility of this weapon greatly offset by the incredible power of the stance and the following shield tackle. The default aspect increases your attack and dash attack damage. This remedies the primary problem the shield has, a distinct lack of damage. This difficulty is better solved via boons that generate lots of damage that keep getting boosts as you get deeper into the gods' stack, like those of Zeus, Poseidon, and Ares. The default aspect definitely is fine, but there's a good chance you will gravitate a bit more towards the other aspects as the heat increases. That's the case for most of the default aspects in this game. They're not as strong as the other weapon upgrades, but Zagreus' shield has a thing going for it. It's simplicity. The other aspects end up with various additional gimmicks to deal damage. The default aspect doesn't. It does exactly what it says on the tin. Ares for primary boons works excellent with this aspect. It enables a very defensive playstyle where most of the time you're invulnerable while still dealing okayish damage, thanks to Doom effect. Poseidon also works well here thanks to Rupture dealing excellent damage as your opponents try to chase you around the map. It does struggle a bit more against bosses though. Shield Special is an oddity in an otherwise borderline broken moveset. Everything else is unbelievably strong with multiple utility functions, and then there's the special attack where you kinda toss your shield at your opponents, a move that which also gracefully locks you out of using the rest of your moveset for its duration, leaving you defenseless. It's not very good, is what I'm trying to say. So, Shield of Chaos fixes that by throwing 6 shields at once, for a casual 500% increase in damage. That absolutely does fix any problems it has. The extra shields apply a welcome damage increase which only gets compounded with backstab buffs and triggered boons. You can hit your target with multiple shields in close range shotgun style. Against opponents where hitting them with multiple shields is necessary, so for example bosses, you can easily manage it due to their size. The special boons hit a fair bit harder than the attack boons, so having a multiple hitting attack that will trigger them on multiple targets ends up being an excellent effect. Do note that boons won't reapply themselves while the initial effect is still resolving. For instance, the Zeus boon won't retrigger as long as the lightning animation is going on, so the damage will be a bit lower than what you would expect. However, having a potent area of effect ranged attack on a weapon that can go invulnerable at will and has no actual problems with mobility does end up being one of the strongest, if not the strongest, aspects in the game. The Zeus aspect modifies your shield throw to be a much slower projectile that you can call back to yourself at any time. This projectile damages around itself every half second for a predetermined amount, and you can call it back to yourself at any time you might wish. It will chase you through the stage if need be. You can attack and block as normal while your shield is doing its thing, so you retain your whole moveset while utilizing this special. It ends up being extremely damaging, even before mentioning the special boons dealing more damage usually. This is the aspect if you want to sit behind your shield comfortably while your opponents take some non-trivial damage. It does have the issue of not being as easy to utilize as Shield of Chaos though. You need to control the shield while also controlling yourself efficiently. The weapon's baseline crowd control isn't very good. It has some reach, but unless the opponents are clumped really close, you aren't likely to be hitting multiple enemies at once. So, if you're working on a limited amount of time, you need absolute finesse over this aspect. If you execute miss properly, you aren't exactly dying or anything, but you're losing time for sure. As befits the name, Zeus special boon goes really well with this aspect, though since it repeatedly applies boon effects around itself in a largish area of effect, most special boons work really well with this. Pick the one you find most impactful. The legendary aspect is a more casting and shield tackle oriented way to experience the shield playstyle. Beowulf's aspect keeps the moveset mostly in place, albeit in a very diminished pace. Your moveset is pretty much the same, but everything's a lot slower. Everything also deals a lot more damage though, and you can imbue your shield with your cast, which first buffs your shield tackle and then explodes at the end of your pass. Most casts you get from gods become different types of explosions for this aspect. The attacks being slower means you spend more time swinging the shield, which might throw your block timings off. A legit way of circumventing that is using the dash attack as the only attack before starting the shield tackle. The shield's dash attack is fast enough that even with reduced speed of Nagling's board, the attack is still faster than what you need to keep yourself safe. You also take 10% more damage baseline, so watch out. This aspect has some problems with ranged opponents hanging just out of your reach. You do have the shield trope for that, but depending on the target's resilience, this might take a while. One important part is you might want to stay away from persistent casts like those offered by Ares or Dionysus, as you need the Bloodstone to get your empowered shield tackle. Do note, however, the Dionysus and Ares casts deal excellent amount of damage crowd control if you do choose to go that way, so I can't exactly argue against them. Unlike most other legendary aspects, the Nagling's board doesn't have good Daedalus Hammer upgrades. Having more Bloodstones, on the other hand, increases the versatility and damage a lot more.